Nobody taught us how to turn 40 with intention, and it shows. I believe that birthdays are the one day of the year that we owe an answer to ourselves. I recently celebrated another birthday, yes, to having another birthday and the gratitude of that feeling. And as I was reflecting on not just the upcoming birthday, but also the year as a whole, my birthday is right in the middle of summer. I was reflecting on the entire year leading up into this point. This is the pattern I see in women over 40, and truthfully, people over 40. Is so much of life starts to happen to us. It's almost as if we are on autopilot, where one day turns into the next, and we look back, we almost don't remember how we got here. So we're surprised that the holidays have arrived, or the new year is here, or summer is over, as if we were just moving through life and the days were happening to us. Now, the reality is that oftentimes that can be true. We are working every day and paying bills and taking care of littles in our life or elders in our life. And we're going through the motion of life. And we don't spend enough time observing the things that are happening in our life. We're getting through the next day. I have a friend, her name is Wendy Amara, and she talks about be, do, have. And this idea of we need to be before we're doing. But there's something about getting into our 40s where it feels as if we're constantly doing. And the danger is that these passive years where we're moving on autopilot, almost not recognizing our days as they're happening to us, these passive years start to combine into a life that you don't recognize. I spend a lot of time thinking about the passage of time, thinking of how fast the years have gone by and how life really moves in the blink of an eye. I have a niece, and often I look at her and I see her grow in size and the length of her arms and her vocabulary change and the way her face will change. And it's so easy for me to remember her just yesterday as the baby that I held coming home from the hospital. But now here we are almost a decade later. And again, what do I say? It went by in the blink of an eye. So this year specifically, I've wanted to slow down. I've intentionally slowed down. I've done the things that keep the lights on and pays the bills, keeps my business running. But I've also introduced more spaciousness, more time for me to think about my days intentionally with the question of not just what I want to do, but how I want to feel. Now that's a luxury. It is a luxury to have, but I think it's a luxury that we owe ourselves, because if not now, when are we going to do it? There's two things that I think about as my birthday rolls around. And the first happened the day after I turned 16. I remember getting a phone call and my friend was sobbing into the phone, that kind of heavy sob where I couldn't make out anything she was saying. Now, in addition to just the jarring reality of having your friend call you on the phone sobbing, this was also a friend that wasn't very emotional. It was rare that she would cry. So hearing her almost convulsing into this pattern where I couldn't make out what she was saying, and I kept telling her, slow down, please take a deep breath. I can't understand what it is that you're saying. Eventually, through the sobs, I was able to make out that two of our very dear friends, just 1 year older than us, had been shot and killed the night before. And one of those moments where time slows down and I had questions, but I also had all these thoughts of how could this be? And they're 17 years old and he's going to college and this person just moved here. What do you mean this happened? It's still so clear to me about that day. It's still so clear standing in the funeral home for each of them and witnessing the people there and the parents' torment and the grief and the anger and the rage and the confusion and the questioning and all of those feelings balled into one. And then just last year, while on summer vacation with my family, I received an ominous text message from a friend. And the text message read, "Don't go on social media today." Now, I don't know about you, but when someone tells me not to do something, I almost certainly want to do it. And then the next message came in just as quickly, and it read, "I'm serious. Please don't go on social media today." Now, the irony of this is where I was at the time, the signal was coming in and out. So as I was trying to communicate with my friend and asking her questions, what do you mean? What happened? Is everybody okay? The messages weren't going through. So this frustration was building. So I go onto social media, but because the signal's so poor, I can't get onto social media. So now I'm outside holding my phone up, waiting to see, can I get a response from her? Can I get onto social media? What is going on? And in those minutes that were going by, those minutes that felt more like hours, my mind was just creating stories about, is everyone okay? Who's harmed? Is anyone hurt? Did anyone die? It was an excruciating set of minutes before I was finally able to talk to her. And I simply said, stop playing. I need you to tell me what's going on. And she said 2 words. Fulana died. Now I'm saying Fulana because I'm not putting other people's business out on Front Street. But when she said it, I stopped and I froze. And what's interesting is that I knew multiple people with that name. And so my mind was going through the Rolodex of who's most likely, who was most probable to be the person she was talking about in the phone. And she told me the last name. And I was stoic. I said, okay, thanks for telling me. And it wasn't until about an hour later that I felt it. I felt the emotion. I felt the grief. I felt the anger for not just the person who had passed, but for the children she left behind, and for the gaping hole that I felt was left in the world because her presence was no longer there. And this birthday specifically, I approached with a different intention. And I want to share this practice with you, because if you're listening to this and you chose to watch this video and you're reflecting on your own birthday, on life, on the years of being over 40, then maybe this practice that I did can also help you in wherever you are in your journey. So if you want, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, your iPhone, your tablet, however it is you want to do this. Or maybe just sit here with me. Sit here with me. Let's do this together. And then you can come back to this video when you're ready. You can watch it again and you can go through the practices yourself. How's that sound? Now, one thing that I'm very, very big on that I have to say as we begin this exercise together is that I am all in on reverse engineering. So what does that mean? I believe we start with the end in mind and then we work backwards. And this is the same thing that I want us to do as we think about our birthdays, and specifically we think about the year ahead. Instead of letting life happen to us and then saying, oh, I never got to go here, I never got to do this, I never got to spend time with these people, I want us to start with the end in mind. When we fast forward 365 days to your next birthday, what is it that you want to say you were able to accomplish, achieve, experience, feel, be, do, have? I want us to start with the end in mind. So let's spend this time reflecting backwards and thinking about what we want to happen. But before we can clearly identify what we want to happen in the upcoming year, we need to spend some time looking at the current year. Now, this part is the part that might feel uncomfortable, and I encourage you to fight through it. It's the part that requires us to look back at the year, at some of our mistakes, the things that we didn't get done, but that's okay. I got you. I want us to stay in this moment because what is done is done. We cannot change the past. We are simply using this information as data. This is not meant to beat yourself up. This is not meant to start igniting negative self-talk. This is not meant for you to shut down. This is data. So let's move towards it and let go of all the rest. Are we in agreement together? Can you agree with me? Okay, let's go. Now, what I want you to first think about, I want you to write down all of the things that went well this year. This can be hard to do because when 12 months go by and it all feels like a blur, it can be difficult. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. The first is to pull out your calendar and go back month by month and look at some of those milestone things that you had on the list. It could have been a doctor's appointment that had amazing test results. Maybe someone in your life graduated and there was a great celebration. It Could have been your best friend's 40th birthday. You went on a cruise with family. Whatever that is, one of the ways to do that is to go back and look at your calendar. Now, maybe you're not a calendar person. Go and take a look at your camera roll. What are the things that you snap pictures of? The screenshots that you absolutely thought you were going to go back to? The flowers on the way to work, a sunset, a rainbow, your child doing something funny. What videos did you take? But these are two clear ways for you to refresh the memories of what you did in the past year. Your calendar and your camera roll. Every single time, it's going to give you the information that you need. And again, this information is data. One of the most significant things that I've done for myself this past year is I took a bucket list trip. Since I was in college, I wanted to go to Australia. And this year, I finally went to Australia. And not just Australia, but I paired it with going to see Bad Bunny in Sydney. That was an extraordinary trip. It was a solo trip. I met some friends while I was there, social media friends that became in real life friends. And it was an extraordinarily life-changing moment for myself. Not just because it was something I'd always wanted to do, but also because it was a solo trip. I hadn't taken a solo trip in such a long time, and it allowed me to see a completely different part of the world. And that can be an entirely different video. But that was one of the major moments that I had for myself in this past year, was giving myself the opportunity to do something that was life-changing for myself by myself. Now that you're feeling hopefully in the good vibes, the dopamine is coming up, you're remembering awesome photos that you take in, videos, calendar invites, all of those things. Now that we're in a good state and you're primed and you're ready to go, I want you to now write down the things that didn't go so well. The goals that you had on your list, go dig back into those New Year's resolutions and find out some of those goals that maybe you didn't achieve. Things you may have started but stopped. Sad news. Unfortunate circumstances that happened throughout the year. I want you to go back and also write those down on a separate column. So we're going to have two columns. We're going to have the first column, which are all of the things that went well. And then we're going to have the second column of the things that maybe didn't go so well. And to simply put it, what sucked in this past year? And there's a bunch of things that can come up. Just put them down. Again, it is data. Every time you start to feel an emotion come up that feels uncomfortable, I don't want to do this. This exercise is dumb. Who is this woman on YouTube? I want you to say, this is just data. We're going to keep forward because the upcoming year is going to be different than the last. For those things you have in the second column, the things that didn't go well, I want you to circle those that were absolutely in your control. There's going to be a set of circumstances that we absolutely cannot change. There's always a set of circumstances that we cannot change. But in other instances, there will be things that are in our control, and I want you to circle those that were in your control. Again, we're collecting data. It's important for us to differentiate those things that didn't go well, the things that sucked. How much of them happened because of, let's say, for example, an earthquake, a hurricane. Those are things that we can control. A job layoff, a relocation, someone passing. Those are things that you can control. But there are going to be variables of things that sucked that you could control. You missed your best friend's birthday. You forgot to call someone. You didn't book the trip in time. Those are the things you can control. And because of that, it allows you to have a new way of looking at it as we're starting to plan for the next year. Now that you have these two columns, the things that went well, the things that sucked, I want you to go back and identify what are the areas, the places, the people, the things that energized you. Where did it feel good? Maybe you felt energized spending time at home in a cozy space, feeling comfortable, reading a good book. Perhaps that energized you, and that's something you don't normally do. Now, the things that drained you were in certain people that you found. Every time I left, I felt worse than when I came in. Or there's conversations that you had, and it might be someone that you've known for 20, 30 years, but when you have those conversations, they don't hit the same way anymore. You don't feel the same way about that person, and that feeling you have, the residue that's left after that conversation, is residue you just want to wash off. I want you to make note of those things. This is bringing awareness into our life so that then we can decide What do we want to keep? What do we want to purge? What do we want to bless as we go into the next year? So now that you've collected data for the previous year, for this current revolution around the sun, I want you to start to think and prognosticate about how you want to feel 365 days from now. This is where we get to play. This is where we get to feel good in our emotions and think about what would we want life to look like in a year? When I ask you that question, what would you want life to look like in a year? Can you just tap in for a second? Can you check in? Did that question feel exciting? Or did it feel like something you're in control of? And if it didn't, if it felt like, well, I can't control this, or I don't know what's going to happen in a year, this is a moment, a real opportunity for you to check and manage those thoughts. Because if the thought that you have is, I don't know what's going to happen in a year, then it shows me that you're in a place right now where you think you don't have influence on your life, where you think somehow you are unable to make a direct impact on what's going to happen in the next 365 days. Now, that's the feeling that we want to watch out for, because these feelings compounded over time, these are the passive years that compound over time until we feel like what happened to us. And we don't recognize where we are and how we got to these places. So just notice that feeling if it's coming up when I ask the question, or do you feel excited and invigorated by the idea and the prospect of I can create the life that I want, or I can create the feeling that I want for myself. So we have our two columns, what went well, what sucked, what drained you, what energized you. And these are people, places, and things to answer those questions. And now we're going to put a bow on that. We're going to start to go towards what the next year is going to look like for you. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to start by asking yourself the question, what would make the next year feel like a success? Now, I do not want to define what success means. I think success is a very personal definition. We all have different ideas of what that looks like for us. So for you, just answer the question, what would make the next year feel like a success? Now, the important thing here is the feeling. We spend so much time just doing and doing and doing, but we do not spend enough time feeling. And I say this as someone who spends all my time living in the neck up. I'm all in my brain, and I've spent more time listening to myself, listening to my body, being quiet. I know this sounds woo, but I'm someone who loves data, and I also love the woo. So what do you want the next year to feel like? When it's all said and done and you go fast forward to 365 days, did my year feel like these things? Did I feel happy? Did I feel joyful? Did I feel peaceful? Did I feel calm? And did I feel ambitious? Did I feel adventurous? Did I feel excited? Did I feel wanted? Did I feel desired? Did I feel loved? Did I feel healthy? So those two questions, what would make it a success? And how do I want my life to feel? Once you have those bones, that scaffolding there, outlining what that letter would look, what life would look like 1 year from now, then you can go back in and say, that feeling, where would that feeling come from? Joy would come from this. Feeling healthy would come from this. And now you can go in clearly, identifying the things that you want to do for the upcoming year. Have you ever noticed that when it's New Year's, and if you're someone who makes New Year's resolutions or someone who's asked to set goals, it always feels, I want to make more money, I want to lose more pounds, I want to find love, I want to stay in love, but it's very generic. And it feels as if we can all have the same exact goal, but yet our lives have different circumstances and different feelings within those lives. So why are we being generic with the things that we want? It's not, I just want to travel more. Where do you want to travel? What are 3 places that you'd love to see in the next year? Who do you want to spend time with? Is it an old friend? Does that friend live nearby? Is that someplace you'd have to travel? Now, if it's important to you, and when you look back, if you say, I want to have spent time with this person, and the person doesn't live near you, you can start planning right now. I'd love to come see you. I'd love to have you come see me. We can meet someplace in the middle. We can start putting those things into motion. So it's not just another pie in the sky thing. Oh, yeah, definitely we're going to see each other this year. But no, let's actually start putting some plans in motion so those things can happen. And that is what happens when you get more specific about what is it that you want to feel and what does success look like for you. So if I'm looking for community, I want to feel connected. I want to feel in communion with other people. Well, then you best believe I'm going to start thinking about who are those people that are going to be available, that I want to spend time with, that I look to reconnect with, who's going to bring out that feeling of laughter and joy and nostalgia. What is getting me excited about this? And I'm going to put it on the list. One of the things I had, and it's small, but living in the New York City area, fortunately, it's easy to do. I wanted to go to see more Broadway shows. I wanted to see plays and musicals. It's something I did often when I was much younger. And as I got older, what's the adage? I'd say, I don't know if I want to spend the money. Who am I going to go with? And then I just started to go. I bought the tickets. I found promo codes. I asked people if they wanted to come, and if they didn't, I went by myself. And those experiences, it reminded me every single time I left the theater, I love this. That is the thought I had. Love coming to the theater. And these were the reminders for myself of, this is important. This lights me up. This makes me feel good. I have good conversations. I feel more creative afterwards. I think more deeply after seeing these shows. So why am I not going more often? Sometimes we need to just do something once to remind ourselves that we've always loved it. And so this exercise right here of reflecting backwards and then asking ourselves what we want the next year to feel like, what does success look like? This is a practice that you can use every single year. Starting this year in 2026, when I'm recording this, I didn't really have a word of the year. I thought I had a word, and every year I've chosen something. But as I was approaching this birthday, I chose a word. Because I realized that these dates, January 1st or Sundays or Mondays or end of summer, beginning of summer, they're arbitrary. You can start this anytime. This activity I did for my birthday, and you might be watching this around or on your birthday, but truly you can take this assessment at any point. You can decide at any point in any day, you're going to reflect back and you're going to decide what you want the rest to look like. When you start meeting your year instead of surviving it, the years take on more significance. The years feel differently. You can remember your years in a completely different way. And most importantly, life no longer feels as if it's happening to you, but it's happening because of you. It's happening because of the intentions you set forth, because of the actions you put in place, because of the very present feelings and intentions that you have as you move about your day. I'm not going to sit here and say that 40 is old, but I am going to say that after I turned 40, I began to think more deeply, more concretely, more thoughtfully about life, about the quality of my time. If you're watching this and you're someone who resonates with the love language of quality time, I think you'll also resonate with this video. I think it will mean something for you to think about the quality time, not just that spent with others, but also what does that quality time with yourself look like? And I believe that these exercises and this methodology is something that is going to make the quality time you have with yourself even richer and fuller. If this hits something real for you, I made something called the birthday blueprint. It's the full audit I walk through every single year. The questions, the prompts, the honest accounting, it goes deeper than what we're able to go through on this video today. The birthday blueprint is designed exactly for this season of your life. So it's available in the link below. Just go to the first comment, pull that link, get that blueprint, and spend time with yourself, because you owe it to yourself to make these years as intentional and rewarding and successful as you want them to feel. I'm Monica and I make videos for women over 40 who want to live well, be well, and spend well. Peace.